Hey guys, Jason here again. This is a 1983 JCM800 2204. Well, actually this is the combo version of the head. So it's the 4010 or 4010. Scott is looking to, really kind of take this into far more hot-rodded gain territory. So, we've been talking about where to take this thing, and almost inevitably it's going to end up very similar to the 1987X, which I just completed. So, we'll take the 2204, bones that this thing's got, add the kind of the Jakey Lee style 800 mods, which I did to the that 1987X. Put the FET boost on the front end of this, our Headfirst FET boost board. Make that foot switchable. Add the couple of different Jose clipping options as well. It's going to have our high voltage effects loop added. It has no effects loop, this amp, at all at the moment. And the final thing we're going to do to this is make it channel switching, right? So Scott's really keen to, get a kind of clean, if you like, or a Plexi style clean out of this. So we'll use one or two of my little auxiliary relay boards to add channel switching to this. So you'll be able to control everything on this with a 2-button foot switch. So one will be to obviously change between the channels, and the second button on the foot switch will be to bring in the front end FET boost. So a bit of work to do, so I better get started on it. Just before I start to pull it apart, there are two mods on this thing that are quite interesting, because the first one here, it was at some stage in its life, a little bright cap switch has been added to the front of this, right? So just sort of sitting in here between the high and low inputs on the front of the amp. And it's actually quite a useful thing to play with, because you can really hear what a bright cap does on a JCM800, because this thing here, you can turn it off. So if I bring the gain here, I brought the preamp gain here to midday, which obviously everything's upside down on this because it's a combo version. So midday is, pointing straight down. So this is kind of, the core tone here. Just like an 800, as you bring that preamp gain down, it really starts to brighten up, right? Because a bright cap has more and more effect. The lower the gain is, and everyone should know, if you put the preamp gain on any amp that has a bright cap on 10, the bright cap makes no difference at all. It's completely out of circuit. So back to where we were. I'll bring it down even a little bit further. So look, it's, what is it, 1030 there. It starts to get really bright, which is why in an 800 you can't really play it with the preamp gain down like that. It gets too bright. But if I switch this across, you'll hear it's quite usable at lower gains, yeah? Yeah, you get the idea. It is usable. It does thin out a little bit, obviously, but if I've set that up at about 11 AM with the bright cap off, that's a usable tone. Bright cap on. So the other thing that this amp has got, I'll bring the preamp gain back up to, what is it there? about 2 o'clock, is there's a switch that was added right at the back here of the chassis. Well, it's on top of the chassis actually, in between V1 and V2, and you can hear it, switching it now. It's quite a thump through the amp when you switch it, but it takes a gain stage out. I haven't actually traced the circuit out, but it's taking the gain stage out, so when it's off, or when it's in the other position, it's like a Plexi, basically, like a 4-hole channel of a Plexi amp, where you've got 2 gain stages, cathode follower, and the rest of the amp, rather than 2204s, which have 3 gain stages, cathode follower, and then the rest of the amp. So here's the sound in that mode. And there we are, back into stock 800. So I guess a useful addition if you wanted your JCM800 to be set up like a standard Plexi amp. It's certainly not switchable on the fly. It's on top of the chassis, and once this goes into a head cap or the combo shell, it's not exactly something that you could switch in between songs at a gig, right? Pretty much set and forget. But hey, it's there. But yeah, look, this amp sounds great. Just stock. It's one sound. So I understand why Scott wants to mod this thing, because he'll be able to get a whole bunch of different sounds out of it when I'm finished with it. But as a early '80s rock and roll amp, this thing is the gold standard, I think. Alright guys, well, we'll take this to the bench. I'm going to start work on it. Let's see where we can take it. I will document the mods as I always do, and there'll be a follow-on clip where we'll go through the completed amp and the completed tones, and also a walkthrough of the mods. Cheers guys, catch you later. Alright guys, well, we're not quite halfway there, but this is pretty much the Jakey Lee mod, right? So if you didn't want to go to the full extent of putting a front end FET boost in, channel switching, Jose mods, all that kind of stuff, right? You could do worse than just do this to your 2204, right? So this pretty much makes the most out of a 2204 circuit, I think. I covered the mods I did my own 2203, my 100 watt JMP. I made these mods to that amp, so if you want to just check out how to kind of make those changes, which is really kind of getting to first base, if you like, with an amp like this, go and have a look at that clip. There's a full DIY guide there, including part numbers and all that kind of stuff, right? So fill your boots. Yeah, but this is definitely heading in the right direction. A few more changes to make, obviously, to get it to the finish line. Stay tuned. Cheers.